Hi everyone, in this video I want to show you a game between Viswanathan and Hou Yifan. The game was played in Tata Steel Chess Tournament 2018 round 11. Let's see the game. White started with c4, the English opening, and Black replied with e6, a valid pawn move that allows the darker bishop to develop. Knight to c3, d5, attacking the center, threatening to push d4. White played d4, putting a pawn in the center, stopping d4 from Black, allowing the darker bishop to develop. Knight to f6, c takes on d5. White took, releasing the central tension. This is the queen gambit decline, exchange variation. Knight takes on d5, moving the same piece in an opening. Better was to take with the pawn, allowing the darker bishop to enter the game. e4, attacking the knight, and knight takes on c3. B takes on c3, and this position looks like Grunfeld defense, except Black has played e6 instead of g6. Let's see that line. d4, knight to f6, c4, g6, knight to c3, d5, c takes on d5, knight takes on d5, e4, knight takes on c3, and b takes on c3. And we have the same position as in the game, but here g6 is played instead of e6. Let's go back to the game. Black continued with c5, attacking the center, and White cannot take on c5 because Black will trade queens. White will have double pawns on the c file and an isolated pawn on the a file. The most popular move in this position is knight to f3, developing, but White played rook to b1, putting the rook on the open file. Bishop to e7, developing, followed by short castle. Knight to f3, developing towards the center, short castle, Black king is safe, bishop to c4, another developing move, pairing castle, knight to c6, putting pressure on d4, and white king is safe, b6, intending to put the light square bishop on the long diagonal, bishop to e3, developing and protecting d4 one more time, bishop to b7, and queen to e2. With this move, white finished his opening. His king is safe, rooks are connected, and all other minor pieces were developed. Also, the bishop from c4 might go to a6, attacking the bishop from b7. Black continued with c takes on d4, releasing the central tension. Better was to finish his opening with queen to c7. White recaptured with the pawn. In this position, White has more space due to his central pawns. He has a pawn majority on the king side, and Black has a pawn majority on the queen side. In the middle game, White needs to attack opponent weaknesses, which are the weak pawns and weak squares. After weaknesses were detected, White needs to see how his pieces can help in the attack. If attacking moves are not working, White needs to improve his piece position or decrease opponent piece activity. In this position, Black played rook to c8, bringing the least active piece into the game, and White does the same with rook f to d1, placing the rook on the same file with Black queen. Queen to c7, finally Black finished her opening, and in the game White pushed d5, attacking the knight, and the knight goes forward to e5. Usually attacking moves are good only when we push our opponent back, not forward. The knight attacks the bishop goes to b5, it takes on d5, it takes on d5. White has an isolated pawn and in the same time a pass pawn on d5. In the game, Black took on f3, giving a check, queen takes on f3, bishop to c5. It seems that Black wants to exchange pieces and go into an endgame, where he has a chance to grab the isolated pawn and take advantage of his pawn majority from the queen side. An attacking move for Black was to put the bishop on d6, attacking the pawn from h2. There is a rule in chess saying that when your opponent has weak pawns, you need to trade minor pieces and leave heavy pieces, because minor pieces are good defenders of weak pawns. So this is Black's plan in this game. White continued with rook b to c1. The rook from b1 was staring at a wall of pawns, and on c1, the rook is pinning the bishop. Queen to e7, getting out of the pin, looking to take on e3 with the bishop. And if the queen recapture, black queen would take, and white will have 3 pawn islands. Bishop to f4, getting out of the attack, bishop to d6. Black insists with the bishop trade. Another way was to get another piece into the game with rook f to d1. Knight to c6, protecting the pawn, and black took on f4. Bishop takes, queen takes, bishop takes on c6, and d takes on c6. So black plan to trade minor pieces succeeded. Also, white has a pass pawn that is very advanced in black territory. It needs only 2 squares to queen. Black continue with queen to c7, wants to trade queens, but it's not good to block a pass pawn with the queen. Another way was to attack the pawn one more time with queen to e6, and the same time attacking the pawn from a2. White continue with rook to d6, breaking the communication between the 2 queens, rook c to d8, attacking the rook one more time, and white defended. Black continue with h6, making an escape square for the king. Taking on d6 was also possible, but white would win. Let's see that line. After rook takes on d6, rook takes on d6, rook to d8, rook to d7, black queen cannot take the queen due to mate on d8, rook takes on d7, c takes on d7, and we have the same problem. Black cannot take due to white promoting to a rook and mate. Queen to d8, preventing the pawn to go forward, queen to e5, king to f8, queen to d6 check, king to g8, and white can bring the king near the pass pawn and then force the queen trade, and the pawn will be pushed. In the game, black continued with h6. White played g3, making some room for his king to breathe. Black took on d6, and white recaptured with the other rook. Rook to c8. This is a slight inaccuracy because white can go forward with the queen to f5. Black queen is tied to the defense of the rook. The queen cannot take the rook to the queen taking. So we have queen to e5. The queen is centralized, looking to go to d5, getting out of the pin, threatening rook to d7, controlling the d file. Black played b5. The drawback of this move is that black did not respond to white's threat of occupying the d file. He's losing now. Best for black was to put the rook on d8, contesting the file. So queen to d5, and also after rook to d7, white attacks f7 pawn twice. Black continues with king to s7, queen to e4 check, king to g8, rook to d7. Black queen cannot take on c6 due to rook to d8, removing the defender of queen. The rook has to take, and the queen takes the queen. So after rook to d7, black played queen to a5, and the drawback of this move is that c7 square is free and white can push his pass pawn to this square, which happened in the game. And here black ran with his rook to f8. But the problem with this move is that white can go forward with his queen to e7, threatening rook to d8, exchanging the rooks and promoting to queen. So in the game after queen to e7, black resigned. So this was the game between Viswanathan Anand and Hou Yifan. I hope that you learned something from this game. Please watch other games from my channel, and if you like this video, click the like button and subscribe. See you soon. Bye.